leeway to wiggle out that motherfucker, bro. I was on contract from what 18, about 19 years old, 18 years old to 34. Since I became independent, like I don't even read. I send that straight to my entertainment lawyer. If anybody looking at right now, if you ain't got no entertainment lawyer, bro, man, you gonna get beat, bro. Like we don't know. That's why they go to school for that. They are sharp with this. They can read that contract and break it down to you in gangster terms. In street knowledge. Well, this means we don't know what that means. Then they got shit in there that clauses that'll your head up and it's saying some whole other shit. It just means say this, but mean this. Then they got options. You think you got 6 albums on this contract? No, you got an option to do 2 more. So you keep you another.
And this wasn't the first time Boosie has spoken on this kind of topic either. That's what makes his perspective carry so much weight here. This isn't someone who read about label drama from the outside looking in. Boosie lived it. Going back to his own early days in the music industry, he dealt with some of the ugliest and most complicated business situations the game has to offer. He knows firsthand how quickly things can turn when contracts, money, and loyalty all start pulling in different directions at the same time. He's been in those rooms. He signed those deals. He understands what it feels like when the business side of music starts working against you instead of for you. But this time around, Boosie came with a completely different level of intensity. This wasn't a casual comment or a passing opinion dropped in an interview. He went directly at Mob Ties and didn't hold anything back. He accused them outright of doing Finesse dirty, painting a picture of a contract situation so lopsided and so damaging that if things continued on the same trajectory, it could end up costing Finesse everything he had built, his career, his momentum, his financial future, all of it potentially on the line because of paperwork that was signed before the full consequences were fully understood. And Boosie didn't just stop at pointing out the problem. He came with a solution. Street smart, unconventional, and completely outside the traditional music industry playbook, but a solution nonetheless. His advice to Finesse was direct and straightforward. Change your name, move like a brand new artist, and start releasing music under a completely fresh identity. Don't fight the label through legal channels while your career stalls out. Don't sit around waiting for a resolution that may never come. Reinvent yourself entirely and force the situation to change around you. It's the kind of advice that only someone who has truly navigated the darker side of the music business would think to give, because most people would tell an artist to lawyer up, negotiate, wait for the contract to expire, or seek formal mediation. Boosie essentially said, forget all of that. Rebuild from the ground up and make it impossible for the old situation to hold you down. And here's where the story gets really interesting. Finesse actually listened. Not eventually, not after thinking it over for months, quickly. He moved fast. He rebranded himself as 250 Ricky and immediately began operating under that new identity with a brand new album to back it up. No lengthy announcement, no drawn-out transition period, no waiting for public approval. He made the move and let the music speak for itself. The moment that album dropped under the name 250 Ricky, the internet lit up almost instantly. Fans who had been following the situation closely started connecting the dots in real time, and the picture they put together was clear. This wasn't just an artist trying out a new sound or experimenting with a different creative direction. This was a calculated, deliberate move designed to create distance between himself and the business problems tied to the Finesse2Tymes name. A clean slate, a fresh start, a way to keep releasing music and building momentum without being held back by contractual complications that were threatening to derail everything. Social media responded almost overnight. The conversation spread fast and wide, with fans genuinely shocked by how quickly everything unfolded. One day he was Finesse2Tymes dealing with public label drama, and seemingly the next he was 250 Ricky dropping a full project. The speed of it all caught people off guard.
Nothing but Nah, and he ready to do a 24-hour stream with 250? Come on, you think I'm finna disrespect a dude willing to with me, like who ready to, and don't give a fuck what the other people got to say, because there's all this going on right now. I'm dealing with an industry full of people who don't want to deal with 250 because they worry about what such and such gonna say. But it's okay, because we done paid our own way and we're gonna continue to pay our own way, and it's going on. You hear me? But look, dude, what Boosie had to say.
Eat what you don't want you to eat, bro. What you think about Finesse contract? Everybody signed that contract, man. I had the same thing, bro. I think they did the same contract for everybody label, they just changed the motherfucking. That's all part of your first contract, you gonna sign.
Once those clips started spreading, fans went to work immediately. Every word Boosie said about bad contracts, exploitative deals, and artists getting swallowed up by the business side of the industry got dissected line by line. People weren't just watching the clips and moving on. They were pausing, rewinding, pulling out specific quotes, and building entire arguments around what he said. The conversations online picked up speed fast and showed no signs of slowing down. A significant portion of the audience came down firmly on Finesse's side. Their position was straightforward. Artists need to be far more careful before putting pen to paper on major deals. The music industry has a long and well-documented history of signing talented people to contracts that benefit everyone except the artist. And for a lot of fans, this situation felt like yet another example of that same pattern playing out in real time. The message that kept repeating across comment sections, Twitter threads, and YouTube discussions was simple. Read everything, understand everything, and if you don't understand it, don't sign it until you do.
Yeah, I'm gonna be on this for about 20 years. It's crazy. Like this, that's it. That's the basic contract. Look. That's a millennium contract, that's a cash money contract, that's a true entertainment contract, that's a rap-a-lot contract, that's every contract, bro. You sign that to get in the game, bro. It's just you gotta figure out the wiggle out there, bro. Figure out that's every contract. That ain't just ain't eating what you don't want you to eat, bro. What you think about Finesse?
With that type of shit, I respect it because
he gotta just say, man, these dumb, and he can't put himself a part of everybody part. Because you think about, like I was telling Lil Wayne, this from Birdman, having all this, bro, like this, when you really think about it.
See, this is my thing. I don't know because Wayne,
remember, he just cried for the 250.
Even with all the noise surrounding the situation, a growing number of supporters were starting to look at the rebrand from a completely different angle. What initially felt like a reaction to drama was beginning to look more and more like a calculated, well-timed pivot. People were saying that dropping the Finesse2Tymes name and stepping into the world as 250 Ricky might end up being one of the smartest career decisions he ever made. Not just as a way to escape a bad contract situation, but as a genuine reset that positioned him for a stronger, more independent future in the industry. And the numbers were starting to back that up. Streams began climbing at a pace that got people's attention. The curiosity surrounding the rebrand was driving listeners to the new music in large numbers, and what they found when they got there was enough to keep them coming back. Reaction videos started flooding platforms almost simultaneously. Content creators across YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok were all jumping on the story.
The OGs get off at getting off on the what they get off at doing it. Like, what? How can you walk around with your head high and your chest out knowing you got off on the young nigga, the same young nigga that you trying to motivate?
Right.
You fake. So you fake motivating the nigga. Oh, we gotta do this and we gotta do this and we gotta move like this and we gotta move like that. But then when you get when it's you and so I got the to the point where woo and I can get him to woo and I'm woo and I can, because you know that you talking to, he on the same time you on.
Right, yeah, but they on some heads.
And all them. And then when we come around, you can tell because they they tend to stray a little bit. You can tell they try to stand off like they playing security. Now you know not to get up on me.
Nah, the baby stand up there like a...
You see what I'm saying? Like, so you like, so it's like, I don't know, it's tough to deal with it. You gotta have tough skin to deal with it.
It's just it's like really about knowing it. It's really not like that.
Yeah, but it don't. But this the part that don't even matter. Let me know, like the not being like that part. It's okay. Like it's okay to not be like that. Like I said, like you ain't gotta be like that, and I'm still gonna respect you just like.
As the weeks rolled on, one theme kept rising to the surface of every conversation surrounding this situation: ownership. The idea that artists needed to protect themselves, build independently, and stop handing over control of their careers to outside parties was becoming louder and more urgent with every passing day. People weren't just talking about Boosie and 250 Ricky anymore. They were talking about a systemic problem that had existed in the music industry for decades, and this situation had given that conversation a fresh and highly visible face. The clips of Boosie speaking on the business side of music kept circulating across every major platform, and the more they spread, the more his reputation as someone willing to say what others wouldn't grew alongside them. In a music industry where most established artists stay carefully neutral to protect their own business relationships, Boosie was out here naming the problem directly and without hesitation. Supporters called him one of the few voices in the game who would openly pull back the curtain on how things actually operate behind closed doors. That authenticity resonated with people deeply, not just fans of his music, but artists, aspiring rappers, and anyone who had ever felt like the industry was designed to extract value from creators rather than protect them. Meanwhile, curiosity about what would come next from the other side of the situation kept building steadily. Every day that passed without a formal public response from mob ties added another layer of tension to an already charged atmosphere. People were watching and waiting, trying to read between the lines of every post, every silence, and every indirect comment that could possibly be connected to the ongoing dispute. By this point, the conversation had expanded so far beyond its original boundaries that music was almost secondary to it. The real debate happening across comment sections, live streams, and group chats was about something much deeper: loyalty, trust, and the question of how much faith an artist should place in the people they work with at the highest levels of the industry. How do you know who's really in your corner? How do you protect yourself when the people with the most power over your career are also the ones whose interests don't always align with yours? These were the questions people were wrestling with, and this situation had made them impossible to ignore. The internet stayed fully locked in, not casually interested, fully invested, in the way that only happens when a story touches something real. On one side, you had people who saw 250 Ricky's rebrand as exactly the kind of bold, decisive move that more artists needed to be willing to make: a refusal to stay trapped, a declaration of independence, a signal to the industry that some artists were done accepting unfavorable terms quietly and would rather rebuild from scratch than continue operating under conditions that didn't serve them. On the other side, there were those who felt the public nature of the fallout was doing more harm than good. Their argument was straightforward. Disputes of this magnitude, involving contracts and money and professional relationships, have real consequences that play out long after the social media noise dies down. Burning bridges publicly might feel empowering in the moment, but the music industry has a long memory, and the damage to relationships behind the scenes can linger for years in ways that aren't always visible to the outside world. Both sides made valid points, and neither side was willing to back down. No matter which perspective people landed on, one thing remained absolutely consistent: everybody kept watching. Every single update connected to this situation got immediate attention. Every new post from 250 Ricky, every fresh clip from Boosie, every indirect comment that could possibly be related to the ongoing drama triggered another wave of reactions, debates, and speculation across every platform simultaneously. Supporters of 250 Ricky grew more vocal with each passing week, consistently encouraging him to stay independent, keep building under his new name, and trust the process of constructing something from the ground up that he fully owned and controlled.
They pointed to the streaming numbers, the reaction video views, and the social media engagement as evidence that the rebrand wasn't just working, it was thriving. The controversy, as painful and complicated as it had been to navigate, had accidentally generated a level of visibility and public interest that most artists spend years trying to build organically. Critics, however, weren't ready to declare victory for anyone just yet. Their concern was the long game. Public disputes in the music industry have a well-documented history of spiraling in directions that nobody anticipated, creating legal complications, damaging professional reputations, and closing doors that might otherwise have remained open. The worry wasn't that 250 Ricky had made a bad move, it was that the public nature of everything surrounding it could generate consequences that wouldn't fully reveal themselves until much later. Boosie, through all of it, never wavered. He kept showing up in interviews, kept speaking on his podcast, and kept sharing his perspective with the same unfiltered directness that had made his voice so central to the conversation in the first place. Every time he spoke, the story got new oxygen. Every time a fresh clip surfaced, a new wave of people got pulled into the debate who hadn't been paying attention before. His consistency in speaking out kept mob ties, the contract situation, and the broader questions surrounding artist treatment firmly in the public consciousness week after week. Hip-hop blogs that had initially covered the story as a one-time dispute were now running regular updates. Reaction channels that had made single videos about the situation were building entire series around every new development. Gossip pages that typically focused on celebrity relationships were diving deep into music business contracts because their audiences were demanding it. The story had crossed every boundary and found an audience in every corner of the internet that touched hip-hop culture in any way. And through all of it, fans kept doing their own investigative work. Old interviews got pulled back up and watched with fresh eyes. Past social media posts got screenshotted and analyzed. Timelines got reconstructed.